What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and this is Regular Guy Training. So on a fairly frequent basis, pretty much every AK video that I put up, I get the following question. Do you get the 30 caliber AK, or do you get the 5.45 AK? So an AK-47 style gun or an AK-74 style gun. For those of you that are interested in AKs and all that. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to preface this video by saying that both guns are awesome. They're very AK-like in that they are very reliable firearms. They always have been. They also have the same, for the most part, drawbacks that most AKs typically have. And that's a front heaviness, as well as the fact that up front they get hot fairly quickly. They share those characteristics, and it's something that shouldn't really be looked away from. It's something that you definitely should consider when picking a rifle, period. But let's say that doesn't really matter to you, right? Let's say that you are looking for a true jack of all trades type rifle, to where it does pretty much everything that you ask it to, as far as its individual arena. It can handle intermediate cartridge distances just fine, and you can deal with the curviness of the magazines and stuff like that. So let's say that is, everything that you've already considered. You're down for an AK style rifle as far as your personal go-to. Typically speaking, AK style rifles are my go-to as far as just personal defense. The rifle I need to grab and just go someplace. The kind of gun that I can neglect for a while. I clean my guns like in between, usually somewhere after like 3,000 rounds a piece, just because of the frequency at which I shoot, whatever, right? And as far as just a rifle that I know is going to work with that level of, quote, neglect in all weather conditions, the AK is pretty much this is the gun I grab for, if it's something, if I have to pick one of my guns as far as just a long gun to take and go someplace, and that would honestly include home defense and all that, I would grab one of my AK style guns, particularly this one. And yeah, I know a lot of you guys have been beating me to death on just showing the Mac 90. So I brought it out here. I got it zeroed and all that stuff. It still shoots awesome. But we'll get on to the talking points now, right? Now, typically speaking, I usually go about the whole pro-con type deal as far as what I would pick if I could only pick one. And I've had a bunch of little discussions between myself and a few other people, particularly my buddy Evan, is all about the 5.45 cartridge and stuff. And I can see where his point is on a lot of this. But I have my own particular opinions and things that I like about both cartridges. So we're going to go ahead and start with the 30 caliber guns. Now, pro. This is a pro, particularly if you use your gun for like everything, okay? Like it's your hog hunting gun and all that stuff. Hunters will let you know really quick that a lot of times light bullets, like 223 guns, or in a lot of cases like 5.45 guns and stuff like that, but lighter projectiled ammunition tends to have trouble with brush and stuff like that. Now, granted, you could just find a clearer place to shoot said freaking deer or hog or whatever, but it is nice to have a cartridge that'll just plow through that kind of crap, hit what it is that you're trying to shoot at, and that's where the 30 caliber guns really shine, is that if there's brush and stuff in the way, it doesn't really matter. This tends to plow through things. Now, granted, at closer distances, like home defense and stuff like that, the 30 caliber guns have a tendency to over-penetrate, regardless to ammunition that you use. Okay, they have a tendency to over-penetrate because a bigger, slightly greater than diameter than like a 308 bullet, moving slower, because it's essentially a cut-in-half 7.62 by 54R cartridge. So with those attributions paid to that particular bullet, it tends to ice pick through things at closer ranges, which leads to issues as far as just home defense usability and stuff, because drywall is pathetic at stopping anything, much less a gun whose bullets tend to ice pick through things. So the Pro is also a double-edged sword depending on where you are. Now, if you live in a house with like brick for walls and stuff like that, like for instance, the house I live in now, right? It's got brick walls, like a brick and mortar house. Okay, I have way fewer reservations about using a 30 caliber gun in home defense because if it escapes the walls of my house, it ain't going much further, and it ain't going to be much of a harm to anybody else. Okay, because it'll more than likely pierce the bricks, spall the bricks on the other side, but then the bullet's pretty much harmless after about a dozen or so yards. Not that big of a deal. However, if you live in an apartment complex or something where the walls of this place might as well be lined by tissue paper, not exactly a great option if you have options. Other than that, just let them steal your stuff. Freaking brace up in the bedroom, get a good angle on the bed and angle it up if you're on the first floor. If you got people above you, get a good angle that's skewed a little bit more down than anything else so that you can drive bullets into the floor rather into other people. It is something that you have to be concerned about. Now, another thing that we have an issue with here is weight. Because unloaded, these guns, the 74 and the 47 are very, very comparable as far as nose heavy weight and all of that stuff is concerned. However, it's when the guns are loaded that becomes an issue. Now, not as much with the polymer magazines, but particularly with the steel magazines, I feel is the most. With the steel mags, as well as the heavier ammunition in those magazines, what we're looking at here is just over 2 pounds, right? Just hanging out from the gun, and because it's forward of where your shoulder is, not a bullpup style gun, you'll feel that weight up front very quickly. Now, does that matter as far as just home defense and all that, where this could be over and done with in a few minutes? No. But if you're in that same home defense, home intruder type scenario and all that, having to hold the gun on the door just freehand for a long time, you'll start to feel it. If you're in movement drills and stuff like that, if you're training and just moving back and forth and just keeping the gun up for longer periods of time, it'll wear you out. Honestly, I don't care how big or strong or muscly you think you are. You hold a 30 caliber gun up for a solid 3 minutes and you're going to feel it. I don't care. Because you have like a 9+ pound rifle just chilling in your hands at this point, and you will feel it, I promise. Now, both guns are nose heavy, but you feel it the most as far as weight in the 30 caliber guns. Next thing, the magazines themselves have a little bit more of a curve to them. They're a little bit fatter. So as far as just like magazine placement on like belts or rigs and stuff like that, you start to notice that they take up a little bit more space. You put it on plate carriers or chest rigs and all that, and you'll notice that if you have dedicated AK pouches for a 30 caliber gun, there are just fewer pouches. The go-to I've had for the longest time was an Eagle pouch that I throw on my plate carrier, and it's got 3 up front. For those who this applies, you'll be carrying less ammunition around. That's just a fact. There's less real estate for you to stick the magazines on your body, and the weight does add up. So if you're carrying 8+ magazines of 30 caliber AK ammo, you're going to feel that crap really fast. Now, for the vast majority of us, that's not really an issue because we're responding to clearing a house in boxers or less, okay? So what you got on and in the gun is what matters. So to those that this applies, you'll notice that very quickly, that ammunition starts to weigh you down. Now, compared to the 30 caliber gun is, as far as ballistics, is terrible. If you're comparing the two, and if you're trying to split hairs, and if you're trying to be nitpicky about this kind of stuff, the 30 caliber gun is pathetic, comparatively speaking. It's not as accurate as the lighter stuff. It really isn't. Yeah, you can make it happen. You can hit far with 30 caliber ammunition, and people have seen me do it over and over and over again, but it's not as good as 5.45, ballistically speaking. It doesn't shoot as smooth, which that's another thing you have to deal with, is a little more of a recoil impulse. Even on this super smooth shooting Mac 90 that isn't terribly overgassed, you are still going to feel it, okay? Even if you got a muzzle device up front, You're gonna feel it. And as far as just greater distance, I'm telling you, past 4, it gets really, really, really squirrely. I can hit dependably from about 4 in, but it gets really hard after that because the wind starts playing with it. It starts losing a ton of ass after 300 because post 400, it has the trajectory of a shotgun slug, man. It just falls hard. And in the dedicated AK class that I teach, we start talking about point of impact at certain ranges, and 600 is a big blue question mark. Okay, it literally says in the little PowerPoint slide that we have there, because it's our only class with PowerPoint slides, but it says 600 and greater, figure it out. Because we're holding so high at this point that I'm using other terrain features to figure out where to drop the thing in, and it's not very dependable. Okay, there are 30 caliber AK style guns that can reach that far, but as far as just a standard length AK, it's not happening. Not in one round. It's not happening. Okay, you're gonna have to identify by splash, just kind of hold, maybe pick a cloud or something, and that's a problem. Additionally, you have flash issues. Now, the Gen 1 PWS FSC 47 tends to do pretty good. It really does. Because as far as just being a muzzle device, it's the only one I've ever really seen that isn't a dedicated flash hider that can actually control the muzzle rise to a degree and just kind of really smooth out the impulse. It's awesome. And also tame the flash. Generally speaking, I don't, unless it's a really, really good flash suppressor, like for Manicore Arms or something like that, AK's flash, bad in the dark. They're very, very loud as far as their signature is concerned. And most muzzle devices that I've seen on AKs, they'll start to store a little bit of unburnt powder and then ignite it and it fireballs. It has almost like short-barreled rifle issues as far as flash is concerned, but in a standard length gun. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm really not. And if it weren't for this muzzle device, I would kind of, drive that last nail in the coffin and be done with 30 caliber ammunition altogether. Now, the pros to the AK are, they don't sound very big, but they really are, from my personal perspective, a guy that shoots a lot and a guy that has a few different supply trains of ammunition coming in and out. But supply is much greater with 30 caliber ammunition, and there's a greater variety of it. The corrosive milsurp stuff is about gone, but Wolf Tula have stepped up. I haven't seen real huge issues from them. Every once in a while, a primer that's too hard. I've seen a primer seated sideways every once in a while in that ammunition. But for the most part, they do very well as far as just reliability and stuff is concerned. They tend to print with within military grade specs for the AK. So at 100 yards, or we could back it up and use the metric system, 110 yards, we're still printing something like a between 1.5 to 3 inches, depending on the quality of gun that you have and depending on the barrel. Now on this guy, I'm between 1.5 and 2 inches at 100 consistently. So, with the communist barrels in the guns, they tend to print more accurately. The C39 V2s tend to print inside of there as well. But then you have guns like your Romanian Wassers and stuff like that print a little bit more or a little bit wider. We're looking at something like 3 inches and all of that. But the really cheapo depot stuff prints within that spec, which is awesome. Brown Bear does really good. Silver Bear, I've seen a little bit of shaky performance here and there, but for the most part it runs okay. And you also have like your Tiger ammunition and stuff. But the point is that there is a large variety of ammunition that's available fairly cheap. And you go on places like gunbot.net or AmmoSeek, and you're looking right now, as of today, in today's date, you're looking at around 20 cents a round, which for a while that was cheaper than everything else. Now it's just above like 9mm ammunition. So it's very widely available. It's fair. It's priced pretty good, comparatively speaking to everything else. So also magazines, good quality magazines are pretty available too. You can get, your Milsurp steel magazines for between $8 and $10 a piece, and there's a lot of places that sell them like 10 a piece for 10 total for like $80 or something like that. And those magazines are very abundant, they're very affordable, and it works. That in it of itself is enough to put people in the 30 caliber camp, because they're not getting raped by magazine cost, for instance, or consistency of ammunition availability, that type of thing. So that is a huge point in the 30 caliber camp, simply because there is just more available for it. Now, I have some opinions on this, on the 5.45 guns, and then we're going to close this, and we're going to give you guys my individual thoughts and where I lean. I bought this guy not too far back, and very quickly I outran my performance on the 30 caliber gun, even the Chinese gun with it. I can shoot faster, I can shoot more accurately, I can shoot at greater distances with this rifle than I can a 30 caliber gun. On the performance side of the house, you can't touch it. You really can't. Especially in the ammunition camp. 5.45 by 39 is far superior as far as just tearing up whatever living, breathing thing you shot, home intruder or animal. It is vastly superior as far as ballistics on the individual target themselves. And that performance is what pushes a lot of people at the 5.45 camp. It shoots very smooth. A stock 5.45 gun like this will shoot smoother than a large majority of ARs that are out. Even with a standard 74 style break that's up here, this all by itself is amazing in that, as far as just the ballistics is concerned, and the fact that you can shoot just very flat with this, really does push people into the 5.45 camp. Also, this is a break. It's not a flash suppressor. It wasn't designed to be that, but the signature still holds up really, really good in the dark. Every once in a while, it'll flash up, and you'll get a little bit of a fireball, and that's if I'm doing a lot of shooting. But usually inside of that first magazine, I get nothing out of this gun as far as just flash. I get like sparks equivalent to a bird cage out of an AR, which is amazing to me. And 0 to 600, you can hit stuff very consistently. If we're talking like a person-sized target, you can hit stuff very consistently from 0 to 600 with a good dot on board and just go to town. So it's very, very difficult to sit there and have to deal with the following. Generally speaking, magazines for the 74, God, it feels like you just get raped anytime that you get quality magazines for it. Bakelite magazines, incredibly expensive for no real reason. There's a lot of Bulgarian stuff out there that is fairly priced and that will work, but the availability of that stuff is a little spotty depending. You do have to hunt a little bit more on the interwebs to find magazines that will support this. Another thing that concerns me is that right now it's very widely available. 7N6. This is mil surplus ammunition. It's corrosive in its properties, which adds a layer of maintenance that's very annoying to me, because you have to wash it out and clean all of that corrosive junk out of your gun every time you use it. It is still much cheaper than stuff like Wolf, which is fairly priced. But what concerns me is that when that dries up, just like the Milsurp 7.62 by 39, other ammunition companies are going to have to stand up, and that performance, the performance of that ammunition of current like Wolf 5.45 by 39, or pick a company really, is usually less than that of the mil surplus ammunition. It's not crazy, but it turns a barely over 1 minute gun, or 1 inch at 100, to that 1.5 to 3, depending on what it is. The 3-minute guns are fairly rare. I'm usually seeing something like 2 and in, which is still pretty good, but it does kind of suck to have to deal with that. Additionally, you have to deal with, again, just minor annoying things. But that extra layer of maintenance makes this more maintenance intensive as far as the mil surplus stuff than my ARs, which are mechanically less reliable than this gun. It kind of kills the appeal to have to do some kind of cleaning and drying out and then lubing up every time I shoot the gun, because of the 30 caliber gun that's sitting here, I can shoot it and shoot it and shoot it and shoot it and shoot it, reapply lube, shoot it and shoot it and shoot it, and then after a great length of time I can come back in and clean up the mess. Not a big deal, especially if, you know, you're like I was a few years back and you're one of the soldiering types that cleans your guns after every outing. But it's something that does annoy me. However, it's hard, it's really, really difficult to down the advantages of the 5.45x39, because as far as just distance, accuracy, effect on people and stuff, God, it's just better. It is just better in every category, except for the brush issue, right? Now, if you're running around with Hornady hunting ammunition, which is amazing and really nasty, or if you're dealing with 7N6, it handles it a little bit better, but it is still destabilized from like brush and stuff, just like any other light bullet round, really. But the advantages are not outweighed by the disadvantages, in my personal opinion. It's just a faster gun overall, and it's lighter because the ammunition itself is in fact lighter. You can sit here and get up front with this gun for at least another minute, which is a very long time, comparatively speaking, to a 30 caliber AK. But all of those things said, and all of the love that I have for 5.45x39, I actually sold this to Josh, right? You guys seen him in the Glock 26 review that I did and a talk about SBRs. But I sold this gun to Josh. Now, why did I do that? The reason is actually very simple, and it comes down to money, really. I like my 30 caliber guns, but I cannot continue to go on like the 30 caliber guns and 223 and 9mm and 12 gauge in the volume that I do and continue to support yet another ammunition type. It's yet another set of magazines that I have to buy. And let's say that you don't get the 30 caliber gun altogether, right? Let's say that you're only running 5.45, ride or die on 5.45. I completely understand. You know, some of you will find that the 5.45 is just it, and you're not doing anything else, and I completely understand those people. And even if I ditched the 30 caliber guns and then went over to 5.45, that would make more sense. But in my personal opinion, it comes down to money, really. It's another source of ammunition that I just cannot fund effectively. And I don't own anything that I don't intend on shooting the absolute crap out of. You know, so it really comes down to that. As well as, I've spent so much time on 30 caliber guns that within its arena, within its range, like 400 and in, I can make it work consistently. You know, I have the reloads down, okay, like just over and over and over again, a million times, and the reloads are slightly different between this and the 5.45 guns. However, if one was to ask me what is the first one that you would put up, I would say if I was to get a first AK, the first AK that I would point someone at is the 30 caliber side of the house, simply because it's easier to get into. There's more availability of everything for the 30 caliber AKs, it is much easier to get into a 30 caliber AK, get well supplied with magazines that work, and boatloads of ammunition for it, and then go from there, than it is for a 5.45. Because with a 5.45, as far as just like kitting one up, there are little specific things, like if someone wanted to throw an Ultimac on, you have to get, you know, a slightly different sized Ultimac. There are certain things that are not compatible with the 30 caliber guns, understandably. So the more widely available gun, the 30 caliber guns, there is just more people that cater to this than others. Now, you guys can see how it kind of float back and forth between, is this feasible, can I do this all the time, versus the performance side of the house. You know, I just prefer the 5.45 guns as far as performance. Shot on target, distance, all that, like I previously said. I just prefer them as far as performance is concerned. But I cannot deny that I can supply this guy, and I don't have to worry, for the most part, I don't have to worry about shooting a whole bunch one day, or even a little bit, and then having to clean up afterwards. You know, it's just more AK-like to be able to shoot it, leave it alone, and then come back to it and not have any problems later. The 5.45 guns, especially with the availability of 7.6 at the moment, are more maintenance-intensive guns than anything else. It's just a fact. You know, you have to deal with the corrosive issue, or your gun's going to rust apart. These are just facts. You know, so you guys tell me what you think. You know, are you stuck on the 5.45 master race and you're just going to do whatever it takes to keep that running? I completely understand, but let me know why you wouldn't, or why you would, in the comments below. If you have any questions about either or, this is the video to do it, right? Like, this is it. I'm gonna stay glued to this little video feed here, and I'm gonna talk about it then. But, you know, let me know what you guys think. Now, remember, come train with us. We got classes going on in the near future, actually. Our Florida class in November is set. We're ready to go. We're doing pistol stuff there. That's about mid-November. December 1 and 2, we're doing a Pistol 1 class out at Bud's Gun Shop in Lexington, Kentucky. And in January, we are going out to Louisiana to do a Rifle 1 class out there. So if we're near you, swing by, figure out what you're missing, and if you have an AK or anything like it, you know, you come out to that rifle class. We'll teach you how to use it properly, and not how Westerners try to use their guns. If you got a pistol and you want to learn how to use it, great. If you want to train with us for a really cheap price, cheaper than what we already have, and I guarantee it, if you try to look around on the interwebs, you won't find a value as good as ours, because we underpromise and overdeliver. Check out Patreon. There's a $35 a month student system, to where if you essentially sign up for $35 a month, you can take as many classes as you want, so long as you stay signed up. Or if you just want to help out our soldier program, you can just simply donate essentially whatever you want. We take out a soldier per class that we do. We fund his flight, ammo, gear, whatever, and we get him out there and we train him up for those couple of days. For pistol classes and stuff, you have like a lot of dudes in the reserves that are cops on the side, or have security jobs and all that, and they're armed. So, you know, go check that out if you want to. If you want to join our discussion page, I have a link for that in the description below. It's on Facebook. And remember, guys, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy. Stop buying Tabco for AK stuff.